Now this time I will show you how to insert a node inside a MPLS TP network. This is a challenge for most, if not all, vendors. We like to, especially in a mission critical network, we like to avoid downtime as much as possible. But not only downtime, but we also like to avoid human error. Typing a lot of command line interface and checking out consoles takes up a lot of time, first of all, and second of all, is prone to human error. So the network management system in this case will take care of this whole configuration and make sure that the configuration settings are right at every port. Why is that so difficult? Well, MPLS is using labels to route or switch data through the network. And these labels are propagated through the network either via a protocol or are propagated via a network management system, in this case a network management system. Now the newly inserted node needs to be aware of the existing data streams. The data streams are encapsulated in label switch paths or in pseudo wires, and it needs to be aware of these and needs to act as a label switch router, so it needs to switch those through its network. On the other hand, the neighboring nodes need to be aware of the new node that's being inserted. Now, how can you do that with a minimum of downtime, and how can you do that with the network management system? Well, that's the purpose of this video. So let's get on with it. Right now here we're looking at the TxCare client. That's a network management system developed by OTN Systems, which works with an MPLS-TP X-Tran network. So right here we have our different tabs, also called mini apps. And first of all let's check out the network that I've made. So I created a simulated network here. So here we have our devices. So it's basically 3 rings that are interconnected. So we have ring number 1, ring number 2, and then ring number 3 interconnected with each other. I have a couple of servers right here. We have a SCADA service, we have some CCTV services, we have some backup, and also a ticket vending service. So what the purpose now here is that, imagine for argument's sake that these are stations. We'd like to add an extra station in between here. So we have node number 2050, node number 2060, and let's add node number 2055 in between here. So in order to do that, so this link needs to be cut, connected to 2055, and then the other one will go to 2060. Obviously all the services that are running here need to be switched through that new node. How do we do that? Well, let's first have a look here at our connection tab. Let's see at all the services that are running on this link right now, and there you go. So we have a couple of services. Blue, the brown is the fiber, the blue is the label switched path, LSP or tunnel, and yellow green is or are the services. There are more services in the network. Obviously, if I click on this one here, you see a couple of more services, but we're talking about this link here. So first of all, let's add a new node. So we go to the network hardware tab right here, and we click plus. Load up. There we go. And we'll just call it new node. The type 2210, so that's a 10 slot node, and we want to call it 2055. There we go. Create. So here we have an empty chassis, and let's fill it up. So we will put in a couple of Ethernet cards. This is a combo card and then a couple of SFP cards. And let's throw in two 10 gig cards. 1, 2. Then we have the central switching module. So the central switching module it contains the switching fabric and the configuration of the whole node. So therefore 2, which is redundant. This is the I like to call that the backplane electronics, and then the combination of an AC and a DC power supply. There we go. Close. Here we have this new node that's been added into the database. I go back to my dashboard and look at my layout, and we'll see that the new node is floating here somewhere. We don't want this to be floating here, so we just drag this and put it in between here, right? So right now it's just, this is basically the layout. It doesn't do anything. It's just putting on the layout. It's just giving us this physical or logical layout and placing the node right there. So click save. Yes. And all right, very good. Now we have this node here, but as you can see, the services are just, it's just floating there. It's not connected. So we go back to our network hardware and we open up the insert node wizard. So click on insert node, right? So what we're going to do is we have this link, which is 2050. We have the link. We have node number 2050, 2060 here, and in between we'll like to create a label switched router. And so that label switched router will then be able to have or carry all the services and tunnels that have been created. There we go. So it's asking me for the link. That's the link that we'd like to cut. And that's the node that we'd like to put in between. And then we are gonna reuse a 10 gig because it's a 10 gig ring. Connect to this port and use this port to connect to this port. Next. Now mode node selection, modify node. Now we have two nodes, right? We have two neighbors, 2050, 2060. One of the two will load a new configuration. Upon loading this new configuration into one node, it will bring the services on that node down for a couple of seconds. We have the choice. We can either pick 2050 or 2060. We have to choose one. But that means that the other one will not be service affecting. So loading configuration will not affect any services across your network. Only the one that we're picking here. Just 2050 right now. There we go. Some information on the labels. Finish. And close. And that's it. If I load this into the network, we have here one node that's being added inside our network. Let's have a look at our connections. Here we have our new node. There we go. New node, and we can see that this link runs from 2050 to the new node with all services included, and this link will carry the same services between new node and 2060. But we say we still don't have, this is a label switch router, or how do we turn this into a label edge router? Well, let's pick the ticketing service, for example, right? So we have here a ticketing service which is connected across this ring here on top. Let's add one of the ports for the ticketing service. How do we do that? Go back to connections and I'll create a new tunnel, a new LSP. And I'll call this, how did I call it before? Yeah, support services, right? So let's call it support services. And I can call it new. Call this a logical ring. Next. And this time, right now, we're selecting all the LERs for that particular LSP. And we are including the new node. And now it's asking me for the links for that LSP. There we go. We pick all the links. Next. Asking me for the link break. You know, in case of a fiber breach, how do we switch over, or how, which port do we open? So between 2060 maybe and 255. There we go. Label information, overview, close, and we've just created a new LSP called support services new. Now we'd like to modify this ticketing service. So I click on modify this service, blow it up. Next. So since this new node has been added, all the ports are on the WAN mode. In order to change ports to a LAN mode or access mode, I can use this wizard. Click LAN, finish, and close, and now all ports have been changed into a LAN mode. But right now, all the things that I'm doing here is just administrative. It does not affect the service. So now I click on the new node, and I'll include one of the ports for my ticketing service. Next. Next. And now this time I will use my new LSP and I push it in there. You see the difference? This LSP is considering this node as an LSR. This LSP considers this node as an LER. And yeah, that's what we're going to use. Next. We're not changing the bandwidth. Next, 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 finish, close. And that's it. Right now we have our service, our ticketing vending service is connecting across all the nodes, including the new node. If I wanted to, I can then delete this old service, this old tunnel, delete it, close, and then I can rename this one into the previous one. Next, next, finish, close, and that's it. Thank you guys.